So the first bullet point is the most important because it kind of frames, it kind of informs your entire approach and mindset around how you approach these meetings. So if there's one thing to remember around manager one-on-ones is that your manager is a resource for you, not the other way around. And to clarify, what this means is that a lot of folks, especially newer folks, earlier in career folks, they go into a company, they report to a manager, and they believe that they are a resource for the manager. I'm just a vessel for which the manager gives me work and I do the work and I make the manager look good. And then if I make the manager look good enough, I also look good and I get promoted and I don't get punished and all that stuff. And that's a very kind of sensical mentality to have. That's kind of the traditional worker boss mentality. And to be honest, that does apply to a lot of places, including places in tech. But Rahul and I firmly believe that if you really want to become like a strong, like independent senior software engineer, and you really want to excel in tech, you have to flip that mentality. Because like what that pattern of like almost like deference does is that it really doesn't let you leverage that relationship with your manager to the fullest potential. So in terms of like how that manifests is you should go into these meetings asking yourself like, what can I get? What kind of value can I extract from my manager? What kind of insights can they give me to unblock me on the specific things that I need to do in order to excel? So a very common pattern that I see in one-on-ones from like junior engineers or just anybody junior in tech. And this is something that I did when I started off my career is I would just go into these one-on-one meetings with my manager. I wouldn't have any plan. I would just tell them like what I worked on because from like the more naive mentality is like the only reason I exist is to do work for my manager. So I'll just tell them what I worked on and then hope they were happy and then wait for them to give me more stuff to do. And like when you do that, you're just really kind of tossing away like all the like the magic of this construct of the manager one-on-one because status updates, you can do that in a team meeting, right? As mentioned before. And if you're constantly in this reactive state where it's like, hey, manager, tell me what to do, then it's just really hard for you to grow to higher levels. Because something that similar to what Rahul did, I'm going to go back to the promotion session. But a big thing that people do as they get promoted to senior levels in particular is they are very proactive. Instead of just waiting for problems to come to them and then reacting to them and hoping the problems don't overwhelm them, they're actively looking for problems and squashing them before they become too big. And that mentality needs to manifest in the manager one-on-one as well. So what this means is that when it comes to extracting value from the manager one-on-one, the burden is actually on you because the as Rahul mentioned, the relationship is there's a clear imbalance, right? Because like the manager's mind is going to be very afraid because every manager should have at least like 4 or 5 direct reports. I think the average manager has like 7 to 12 direct reports. So their mind space is already split up between like all these different people. They can't really go deep on any one report because they have so many of them. But you can because it's for manager it's one to many, but for you it's one to one. You only have one manager. Like you don't have like 7 or 12 different managers, right? You have one manager. So since on you from your perspective the relationship is a lot deeper and more focused, you have the tools to actually go into that meeting with a very clear plan, a very clear agenda, and a very clear ask of like, hey manager, like this is the value I want from you. And then that makes the job easier for your manager. They're going to love you for this because like you give them a very clear like space to fill and then they just fill it, as opposed to what I generally see again with like more junior engineers is like they just go into the meetings, they just don't really have any plan at all. And then the manager has to figure out like, okay, like what the heck are you worrying about? Like, well, what problems do you have? Like, what does your work life look like right now? Like they have to figure all that out and that places the burden on them. So yeah, go in with a plan to extract as much value as possible.